everyone. Welcome to This Morning on ITV, right here on Independent Television. I am Nuluwapo Stevens. It's the second day in the month of July. Need I say happy new month? We have a lot of things to talk about today on the show. And also I have my colleague right here on this table with me, Harry. Good morning, Harry.
Good morning, Nanu. It's good to see you.
Good to see you too. Happy New Month.
Yeah, Happy New Month. It's actually the first time I'm seeing you this month. If I'm not mistaken.
Right. Anyway, joining from Lagos, Nigeria, I have Patricia Gabriels. Good morning, Patricia. How are you?
Good morning, Nanu, and Happy New Month to you and Harry.
Happy New Month to you. Now, so much to talk about today on the show, but let's quickly begin with an information we got yesterday from INEC chairman, where he said that the era of snatching ballot boxes or rewriting results manually is gone. Now, the chairman of the Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, Professor Joash Amopita, has declared that the era of ballot box snatching and manual manipulation of election results is gone, assuring Nigerians that the current technological safeguards are robust enough to protect every vote cast in the 2027 general election. Now, he made the declaration yesterday in Abuja when he received the Director General of the National Orientation Agency, Malam Lanre, on a courtesy visit to INEC headquarters. So both institutions used the occasion to deepen collaboration on voter education ahead of the 2027 polls. Now, the INEC chairman, who recalled that a presidential election is held on January 16th and governorship polls on February 6, 2027, said the commission must begin intensive civic engagement immediately, while warning that voter apathy and disinformation remains dangerous threats to the integrity of the electoral process. Well, so much right here on disinformation. But Harry, what do you make out of everything he's saying? Do you think it's just pure rhetorics?
Well, you know me too well, especially when it comes to matters affecting Nigeria. Optimism is my watchword, okay? But I think we've seen way too many events play out in the past, and as much as I would like to be optimistic, as a matter of fact, this on the surface looks like the clamor for electoral reforms by Nigerians is beginning to yield results, okay? Right. So I mean, this is supposed to be laudable, all right? But I just hope that this is not about the voter apathy that we're seeing, in a lot of Nigerians nowadays, because it's no news that most Nigerians have lost faith, have lost confidence in the electoral process. So perhaps this is just a way to boost the courage and boost the optimism of Nigerians. But as far as I'm concerned, it's way beyond just talking. All right, talking is one thing, but putting the right modalities in place to ensure that history doesn't repeat itself in 2027, is another thing. So for me, they should go beyond just talking. Joash Amopita seems to be, optimistic, seems to be serious about changing the narrative. All right, but the question is, what signs are we seeing right now? Right. What measures have been put in place to actually give Nigerians the impression that 2027 is going to be a different ball game, and that we're not going to be witnessing the repeat of history? So these are questions begging for answers. For me, it has come to the point where we really need to start doing things differently. Okay, and if we are really going to witness positive change, then we have to start taking real actions. And part of taking real actions is, I think this is a good one, because it's a way of encouraging young people out there. It's a way of encouraging lots of Nigerians who have lost confidence in the system that, this is not going to be business as usual. Right. But there has to be some other ways, to win the confidence, the trust of Nigerians. Else, it's just going to be business as usual.
Absolutely. Well, I also love to note at this point that we would have Abuja Studio joining on the conversation. Now, moving back to Lagos, Patricia, one of the things that Harry mentioned, he talked about optimism, and of course, we are currently in the administration of the Renewed Hope agenda. And he also highlighted voter confidence. Do you think Nigerians at this point are really, really confident enough in the electoral process and also the electoral empire called INEC?
Well, I know if you ask me, I don't think Nigeria has enough confidence on INEC. You know, if you ask me, you know, Nigerians are going to say it's always talk, 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 and no action. And just like Harry said, there's nothing in place to show that all what Amebiton has said will come to play come 2027 elections. So the confidence for Nigerians, I mean, conversations we have with Nigerians shows that, you know, it's just going to play out like it has always played out. I don't think Nigerians have enough confidence for the INEC chairman, because there's no sign to show that there's going to be a difference come 2027.
Now, moving back to Harry, if we all agree that Nigerians have a little or no confidence in this current, INEC umpire, what then can Joash Amopita and every other person involved, all of the stakeholders, do to build and regain the trust of Nigerians towards the 2027 election? And let's not also forget we have Osun governorship election coming up on August 15th this year.
I'm actually glad you made mention of that. That right there is one of the, major steps that the INEC chairman and of course the key stakeholders in the system can do to prove to Nigerians that this is going to be a different case entirely. Because you see, talk is cheap, like they say, all right? And it's not just enough to say, come out. It's not going to be like before, you understand? There's no room for voter apathy anymore. There's no room for electoral irregularities anymore. Let's see what happens in the coming election. Let's say if the dividends of democracy, let's say if the will of the people will prevail. Let's say if there will be no vote buying. Let's say if there will be no, those same irregularities that have trailed, past elections. Right. So that's in itself. I'm sure Nigerians are watching. I don't really think, I think there's this misconception about Nigerians. A lot of people think Nigerians are not observing what's going on in the political space, but that's a wrong narrative, because a lot of Nigerians are watching and they are paying attention to what's happening in these other states where elections are taking place. So if the election ends up free and fair, you don't even need to do much. I think that in itself will just, encourage Nigerians to go out in the field on the day of election. I'm talking about the 2027 presidential election, right, and do the needful.
Now, speaking about going out on the field, I would love to end on this note with you, Patricia. A lot of the times we've seen some politicians highlight the fact that elections are not held on social media. And it's interesting to see how Nigerian population is actually huge with young persons from 18 and more. So how can we advocate for Nigerians to shift the attention and all of the energy that we get to pour every single time on social media down to the ballots?
Well, I know you remember the last general elections where, the youths on the social media were actually talking. And then we heard some people say, you are just making noise, about 3 people in a room trying to tweet and make noise on the social media. But we also what played out during the elections, that youth came out to actually vote. But I'm looking towards 2027, or looking forward towards 2077. I'm seeing Nigerians coming out to vote in mass. But the problem right now, Nigerians are complaining that they are not being given the opportunity to register. And when they go there, sometimes they don't find their names. We saw an old woman during the last governorship election in Ekiti State who said she had been going consistently for the past 2 days and her name was not found on the list. So things like that plays out. But if you look at the body movements of the Nigerian youths and Nigerians generally, you will know that come 2027, they all want to come out to vote. We just want INEC to allow them to, register and then come out to cast their votes.
We're looking forward to all of the outcomes for the 2027 election, especially with the one coming in closely next month, August 15th, right there in Osun State. Now, Patricia, what are we getting in from your end this morning on the show?
Okay, I know we will be looking at this, the phobic attacks in South Africa. Nigerians are being attacked, not just Nigerians, every other African countries are asked to leave their country. As we speak, as at yesterday and some days back, there was a massive protest in South Africa where the people of South Africa came out to protest, saying that foreigners should leave their country. So we're going to be looking at that this morning, because we also heard that the federal government is seeking compensation for fleeing Nigerians from South Africa. So we'll take a look at that to know if that will work, if South African government is going to compensate Nigerians who are going to be leaving their businesses behind, or some of them already had properties in South Africa, those who leave the property.
Right, well, with what is going on currently in South Africa, it's really a sad and tragic situation, and of course we'll continue to talk about it until the right thing actually has been done. Apparently South Africans want, other African countries to return back to their home, and it's really a sad situation that we've seen happen so far. Well, right here in our Benin studio, we are going to focus our attention today on the week that was and talking about the youth. Statistics has it the Nigerian population is actually, more of the youth currently in the country. And we're going to look at the Olodo uprising. Now, the big question is the Nigerian youth, or are the Nigerian youth losing interest in education right here in Nigeria? We'll look at that, and we'll also look at a recent comment from the Minister of Education, Dr. Tunji Alausa, where he said that the federal government perhaps might actually scrap the JSS and the SS scheme that we have over time right here in Nigeria. We'll take a short break, and when we return, we'll move over to all of this and more. Please stay with us.
Some days, there comes the Ugemobo Festival, which the Oba celebrates outside the palace gate. A pavilion is built of red cloth where rites are performed to drive away all evil spirits still unsatisfied by the year's sacrifices. The Ugemobo Festival is to commemorate an event in Benin history which dates back to 1504 AD.
Welcome back. Thank you so much for staying with us. If you're just joining, you're on to This Morning on ITV. Now let's look at a couple of national dailies this morning. We'll start off with the Daily Independent newspaper. And the Daily Independent newspaper is leading with the major headline that says, Unified FX Regime Stabilizing Public Finances. Federal government claims, says it is helping states unlock, deploy resources. Other major headline this morning, Supreme Court launches digital case management system on page 6. DSS arrests former minister Uche Nnaji on page 7. Court grants Daisiani's plea to present UK acquittal verdict in EFCC case. Was still on page 7 of the Daily Independent newspaper. Tinubu asks Justice, Youth Ministry to begin NYSC Act amendment on page 29. Article calls for probe into past sector intervention spending, are still on page 29 of the Daily Independent newspaper. Away from that, CBN cracked down on 46 microfinance banks, strongest move in years. Experts say action clear warning to financial sector. NDIC moves to liquidate failed lenders. And finally, on the front page of the Daily Independent this morning, Obi promises a roadmap to curb government abuse, economic decline on page 6 of the Daily Independent newspaper. Harry.
All right, let's move over to one of the oldest newspapers in Nigeria. I'm talking about the Daily Times. The Daily Times is leading with this screamer that says, 2027, my vision for productive, prosperous Nigeria. And that's coming from, Peter Obi, the candidate of the NDC. He says, I will unite Nigeria for robust human capital development. I'll unite Nigeria for robust human capital development. And of course, above the masthead there, CBN revokes licenses of 46 microfinance banks. CBN revokes licenses of 46 microfinance banks. And still above the masthead, how Nigeria's oil shortfall puts 2026 budget under pressure. Naira stability. And that's still on the Daily Times newspaper. And this other one says, ex-minister Uche Nnaji arrested at Abuja airport over alleged certificate forgery. It's quite serious. Ex-minister Uche Nnaji arrested at Abuja airport over alleged certificate forgery. And then still on the Daily Times newspaper, I think this is the very last one. Showore released on bail, launches 2027 presidential campaign. That's pretty interesting. I mean,
I got released, and yesterday he launches.
It's just so
It's
fun.
quite a troublemaker. Interestingly, I saw him on the sister station yesterday evening granting an interview, and I'm like, I thought this man was just, released a couple of hours ago. But anyway,
I guess he's the Nelson Mandela of Nigeria.
oh my goodness. Well, we'll move over to the Daily Trust newspaper, and it's leading with Phantom Council. Presidency clears Bajabiamila amid concerns. Well, you get details of that story on the front page of the Daily Trust newspaper today. 10 killed on fresh attack on Benue community on page 5. Okay, we've talked about the CBN revoking licenses of Merchant Microfinance Bank, 45 others. Now, 2027, why APC replaced candidate. You want to find out what that is all about, pick up a copy of the Daily Trust newspaper this morning. That's all we have today for that.
Okay, and then on the Nation newspaper, INEC 93 million voter register contains names of deceased. Names of deceased of all the names in the world. INEC 93 million voter register contains names of deceased. Okay, and then we passed FCT Ekiti poll test, says Amopiton. We passed FCT Ekiti poll test, says Amopiton. The question is, can a judge be a case? Can a judge a case? How does that go again? Can a judge adjudicate over his own case? And I think that's pretty much what Amopiton is doing here. I think it's up to Nigerians to decide,
right,
if he actually did well in those places. But it's okay. I guess that's for Nigerians to respond to. And of course, above the masthead on the Nation newspaper, Tinubu's exit benefit scheme new pact with workers. Tinubu's exit benefit scheme new pact with workers. And you can find that on page 20 of the Nation newspaper. DSS arraigns 5 for concealing Silva's whereabouts. DSS arraigns 5 for concealing Silva's whereabouts, and that's on page 2 of the Nation newspaper. And finally, on the headline above the masthead, petrol price, NMDPRA puts marketers under close watch, and that's on page 3 of the Nation newspaper. Now, this one says, government slashes customs levies on imported vehicles. Government slashes customs levies on imported vehicles. And that's all we've got on the Nation newspaper this morning.
The Nigerian Tribune is up next. It's leading with the presidency opens up on scandal rocking PEAC/Berger-Biamila's office on page 2. INEC to introduce downloadable PVCs full online voter registration on page 3. Genco's revelation exposes Tinubu's part debt deception. People speaking at Tiku on page 4. Extend tax filing deadline. LCCI urges NRS on page 7. Well, away from that, ASU threatens strike in Kebbi. 5 other states on page 15. Court grants Alison Madueke's request to present UK court judgment acquitting her on page 3. Some causes of civil war still with us. Well, he was speaking, the former president of Nigeria, Olusegun Obasanjo, on page 16. Now, away from that, ICPC detains Naji over alleged certificate forgery. We saw that happen yesterday at the Enugu airport on page 4. Details of that story. Alleged coup, DSS arranged 5 silver associates over his whereabouts on page 4. And I think that's all the Nigerian Tribune have for us this morning.
Okay, let's now see what Vanguard has to say this morning. Vanguard is leading with a headline that says, why APC ditched Suswam, 25 NAS candidates. Why APC ditched Suswam, 25 NAS candidates. The writer there says, Suswam was sacrificed to please Akume. That's credited to sources. Another writer there says, party moves to resolve tickets crisis. And you can find both of those headlines on page 5 of the Vanguard newspaper. And above the masthead, seized assets. Court okays Desani's request to tender evidence of acquittal in UK, and that's on page 7 of the Vanguard newspaper. Discourse, an expose on Herbert Macaulay, the first Nigerian nationalist, and that's credited to Bode George. And that's on page 14 of Vanguard newspaper. Nigeria must not witness another civil war. And who's speaking? That's the one and only Olusegun Obasanjo. All right, still in the Vanguard newspaper. My presidency will unite Nigeria for human capital development. Peter Obi is the one speaking right there, and you can find that on page 9 of the Vanguard newspaper. NYSC, deployment to security challenged states will be guided by risk assessment. And that is the president of the Federal Republic of Nigeria talking. President Bola Tinubu, page 8 is where you find that. And then finally in the Vanguard newspaper this morning, state police, mechanisms to stop governors' abuse underway. I know we talked about this just last week. Yeah, Senate, as governors promise speedy approval. Of course, there's a tendency for some governors, and not just governors, some powerful individuals to abuse the process, but we actually do hope that it doesn't get to that point.
Absolutely, that has been the fear regarding state policing for a very, very long time. Absolutely. Because the issue of state policing didn't just start from this administration, it has been on. And well, thumbs up to President Bola Tinubu for this swift move. Let's see how it's going to benefit Nigerians in the long run. Anyway, that's how we get to wrap up this segment on the show. Thank you so much for staying with us up until now. We'll quickly take a short break, and when we return, we'll move over to the first part of the conversation regarding the Olodo uprising. Nigerian youth losing interest in education after this break.
ITV, certainly the best.
The land of Owa is inhabited by the people with common ancestry, language, religion, economic and socio-political ties. However, irrespective of their subtitle differences in language and culture, they share common traditions. The people are known for their hospitality. Owa traced their origin to Benin Kingdom. As a result, for a man to find a comfortable place for living, the name Owa was derived from the largest and longest river in the area, which is known as Onwian or Onwa. It means one who makes merry in affluence.
Thank you very much for joining us on the program, Healthy Living. What is the kidney?
The kidney is an excretory organ in the body, which is for metabolism.
Tuberculosis affects many organs in the body, but the common ones it usually affects is the lungs.
Epilepsy is a neurological problem.
Okay.
It is an injury in the brain, which causes someone to begin to convulse, to go into fits.
It is curable, but the cure is a long-term thing.
If you eat well and avoid those risk factors that will make your immunity to be down, then the risk of contracting tuberculosis will be reduced.
If you're healthy, then you're wealthy.
Some days, there comes the Ugemobo Festival, which the Oba celebrates outside the palace gate. A pavilion is built of red cloth where rites are performed to drive away all evil spirits still unsatisfied by the year's sacrifices. The Ugemobo Festival is to commemorate an event in Benin history which dates back to 1504 AD.
The man went out to bring in thugs to come and beat her.
Yeah.
In a situation like that, do you think women would have seen that and still want to speak?
Really, we're talking about. That's what I said. So when they bullied her,
Yeah.
if she's not bold enough, she will shut up.
What is your advice for girls out there that are so desperate to be married?
We women, we have to be really intentional about our parenting.
If you know a child is being abused, or you see signs, a bruise or a child, it has to be investigated.
People barely even breathe when they are going for a shrebi and something.
Party.
You have to be
They
smart.
can't sit
If
down.
you see where they are dressing them or are dragging on both sides, you cannot you cannot breathe. And this
The term Olodo was the playful insult every week has taken on digital culture. Creation and the celebration of Regardless of educational background, many are beginning to wonder if formal education is now losing values in the eyes of young Nigerians. From increasing school dropouts rate to the growing attraction of quick success through entertainment, betting, cybercrime, and social media influence, the debate is becoming more urgent. Yet many young people still believe education remains the surest path to sustainable success and national development. So the question is, what really is happening? Are Nigerian youth genuinely abandoning education, or are they simply redefining what learning and success looks like in the 21st century? Now, before I bring my guest on board in the studio and also join in virtually, let's listen to the viral video of rapper YC, where he talked about how the educational system in Nigeria has completely gone, it's completely deteriorating, and the Olodo uprising and also the Pella culture. Anyway, take a listen to him.
This Olodo uprising that we even have right now.
Olodo uprising?
Yeah, bro. It's terrible. I promise you. It's like we are trying so much to accommodate unintelligent people and ignorant people because we don't want them to feel bad and all these things. So now they're now like the majority. There's a massive attack on the educational system in Nigeria, bro. Aside from like the kidnapping and the Boko Haram, which is like, bro, those guys are literally going at that nerve center. Other factors, leadership not prioritizing things that are important, the society not celebrating academic excellence. People don't even want to go to school anymore. Like, it's just like, why?
It's Yahoo culture.
It's not even just Yahoo culture. Now we have Pella culture. So if we keep rewarding all these guys, like, people see that you just have to just do dumb, crazy shit, just go online, maybe do some obscene, whatever, and you get clicks, you get numbers, like that's what moves the needle in Nigeria. Then what are you telling, the rest of the impressionable young people out there? No shade to Pella. I have nothing against dude personally. Like, bro, get your coins by any means. But, at the end of the day, that thing is only going to be sustainable for a period of time.
Now, it was at that moment that the conversation regarding the Olodo uprising, the Olodo culture emanated from all over social media platform and also shaping a national discourse. But there are those who would say that with the issue of Olodo, it didn't just start from this generation. So why are you blaming just the Gen Zs? Now, let's take a listen to Dele Farotimi and hear what he has to say.
In the week that was, I don't know when the young man gave the interview that has provoked a debate. He tagged it, he identified what he called the Olodo uprising. In the week that was, at least that was when I saw it for the first time. And I laughed, not because I found anything funny, but because the young man, and I think my gray hairs qualify me to call him a young man, the young man was identifying something in his time, but he was seeing the latter stage of something that had started in my own generation when I was probably his age. And what was this thing? I spoke about weaponized ignorance for the first time in 1994 when I wrote a piece for what was then the AM newspaper. I identified weaponized ignorance, which has battered weaponized poverty, being promoted by the Nigerian state, then under General Abacha, against the Nigerian people. It is not person-based. It is a systemic decision to impoverish the people, but they started it with weaponized ignorance. The young man is identifying the same phenomenon, but what he's seeing, the byproduct, which is the elevation of idiocy at a mass level, which has led to the stupefaction of an entire state. Nigerians are painfully ignorant. And the painful thing about the ignorance is the willfulness of the ignorance, because when you present these persons with facts, verifiable facts, they dismiss these facts because it could not pass through the filter of their ethnic, religious, or partisan biases. It almost as if their refusal to accept the truth invalidates the truth. And then we are all harvesting the product of this Olodo uprising. But Olodo uprising was fathered by weaponized ignorance, which is a tool deployed against the Nigerian by the Nigerian state itself.
Daily Faritimi, their amazing conversation and contribution, and his line of thought really beautiful. It's good to see how he also linked the Nigerian government to the Olodo uprising. Now we'll take a short break. When we return, my guests will be here for you. The Olodo uprising is shaping our conversation this morning on the show, and I have my guest right here in the studio. At this point, I'd love to introduce Benson Ikwaria, a policy strategist. Thank you so much for gracing our studio today.
Good morning.
And I also have Emmanuel Chinedu, PhD, public affairs analyst, mental health coach. Thank you for coming on the show.
Thank you for having me.
Now, let me start with you, Benson. What comes to your mind when you hear the term Olodo uprising?
Well, it's a term that anybody can create, but at the end of the day, it doesn't apply to the reality that we face in society, because if you look at our historical background or globally, there's tendency of people behaving in a certain way. But this one is tag entertainment and creativity. And if you want to look at Africa, Nigeria stands as one of the fastest growing in content creation, which is in line with creativity. So being tagged as Olodo in the sense that it was put, or the perspective, it is really not right. Because there are so many areas you can look at the youth in terms of how they are showing interest for education and every other thing that follows. I think when you say Olodo is being praised or is rising by the day, it doesn't really follow with what you experience, because youths in Nigeria, they are very intelligent, they are hardworking, and you can see that reflected in other areas. But sometimes we are always sensitive to tag the negatives. I don't think, because Pella was tagged in that discussion.
Right,
Pella
culture.
Yes, and I don't think, if you look at what Pella is doing, Pella is not committing any crime. He's doing something that gives him some form of living, any livelihood for himself. But if you are talking about the boys who are involved in Yahoo, and we are criticizing them, yes, I can say that has a very negative impact. What Pella or the others, they are doing in content creation is creating a niche for themselves, because the government have lacked in that area providing employment for the average youth. So if a youth is smart enough to create something that will give him some form of income to take care of his responsibility, I think he should be applauded, because streaming is an industry of its own globally. And you can see it's not putting Nigerian youth in a negative space in the global environment. Rather, it's something that is creative and should be respected, it should be encouraged. But I think what needs to be looked at is how has government failed in the path that enables this youth.
Right. Okay. Before we even get to the part of government, I love that you have a different perspective, right? But I love to break it down and, actually for context reason, and what Rapper YC was saying is the fact that a lot of Nigerians, a lot of young people, they're not looking at educational content anymore. Educational content is not thriving, as we have the other kind of Pella content that we have every single where on social media. And currently, Pella has over 15 million followers across different social media platforms, and this has actually sum up the need for the Olodo uprising. Now let me see if you have a different thought to this, Chinedu.
Okay, I think from that perspective, I think a lot of youth, just like he said, wants to have a niche for themselves. But then looking at the content they are creating, it becomes a problem to the society, because a lot of us are actually looking at where people will follow them. They're looking at, they're looking out for followership, and then at the end of the day, they are not, trying to find out, the message they are passing. What they are after is the money attached to it, and then the follower that they will get. So I think that in the area of creating content, people who create content based on education, health, and all that will bring more sense to what he's saying, that there is Olodo uprising in that sense. But looking at the other part of it, where the youth are trying to make sure that they fill the gap in trying to have something for themselves, I think Nigerian youth are trying in that regard.
Okay.
All right, Mr. Benson, I would like to ask you this. I think we might be losing focus on the bone of contention here. I think what YC was actually trying to imply is the fact that there seems to be a shift as far as priority is concerned. He made mention of the fact that the government is not paying attention to the right things, the things that are important, or prioritizing the things that are important. So in this context, what do you think is important to us as a people? Now, you talked about the fact that the government has failed to provide the enabling environments for the average Nigerian youth, and so they are trying to make a way for themselves. Of course, if the government has failed them, they can't afford to fail themselves. Okay, but the question here is, the content that these other guys are creating, what overall impact will it have on the average Nigerians? Because if a Pella who is not so educated is making so much money and making so much clout from his content. And then there are guys out there, especially on YouTube and other platforms, doing amazing things, creating educational content, and they're not having as much clout as people like Pella. What impact do you think that will have on the educational system?
The impact is negative, but there's something you need to understand first. Look at the kind of education we have. Does it enable skill sets in young people? The answer is no. You can have a graduate who studied engineering 5 years, and when it comes to the practical aspect of engineering, he really can't do anything much. So does he have the skill set as an engineer? No. So now what you see is people are looking for what we give them instant income in terms of money. And the kind of educational system we have, you are streamlined, that if you don't get a job, you really can't do anything for yourself. That's the kind of education we have, that's the reality. So the first thing you need to understand, our educational system in itself is miseducating us.
The educational system is miseducating us?
Yes. Oh, so if you look at the global environment, especially if you go to Europe, what is important for them is your skill set. And if you look at Nigeria and being educated in the aspect of skill set, we are at the top bottom. But when you talk about just education by literacy or in terms of qualification, we are there, we are doing very well. But the skill set, we don't have it. So what you see is, because there's a very strong vacuum in the employment aspect of our economy, people tend to look at means they can employ to gain employment or get income for themselves.
So in all of this, it's all about the income.
Yes, it's the income in the sense that why do people go to school? The system has made you in a way that when you go to school, you can't do anything outside looking for a job. And if you don't have that job, you become useless. But in reality, education is supposed to enable you in skill sets and character and some other things. So if you have the skill set, let's say I go to school and I know how to make furnitures. I don't think the content I will do will be anything outside of furniture.
Right.
You understand what I'm trying to say? But you don't have the kind of education that enables our skill sets. And whether you like it or not, how come when you see people coming out of the higher institution, it's always an increase. It adds up to the people that are not gainfully employed because they can't create jobs on their own. But meanwhile, you can bring somebody from a remote village, teach the person how to repair cars, and in less than 3-4 years, same period you spend in university, the person is capable of fending for himself and he can engage other people to work on that. But you can't do that with most, I would say 80% of the kind of qualification we have in the institution. You can't do that with it. So, another thing you need to understand, like we are streamlining this whole thing in another context, but this actually is entertainment that is referencing to. And if I want to take the character of YC, if you look at that video very well, it's not well dressed, it's sagging in a live program. And that speaks volume too to the youth that is coming up. You are looking at somebody who is trying to make sense, but how is he dressed? How does he look? You understand? See, I think, let's be very real. Like, I'm a father, I have kids, I have the ones who are teenagers. We are not serious-minded people. We do things for the crews and just for the props. If we want to be very serious-minded, let's go back, look at our education. Our education is totally messed up.
Right.
It's messed up. I can tell you for a fact that most people go to school after their youth service. Within a space of 2-3 years, if they are not being fully employed, some of them will be depressed. Some can't mix with people anymore.
Okay, now let me move over to you, Dr. Chinedu. Now the question is, do you think Nigerian youth are beginning or already have lost interest in education in Nigeria? Or do you just feel it's an unfair conversation?
It is an unfair conversation.
Really?
Yes, Nigerian youth have not lost interest in education.
But still from the same youth, we get to hear schoolness, scam conversation out of it. So how do you marry that?
I think the problem is the kind of interest, the kind of awareness, the kind of view people have in education. Education, so to say, is not all about having money, but having the knowledge. Yes. Nigerian educational system is actually certificate-based. Now, there's also what we call transfer of learning. No matter what you study, you can have transfer of learning to whatever you want to become in life. Now, people are trying to make sure that they earn a living. But then, this syndrome of getting rich quick is also one aspect of it, because a lot of people celebrate people who have money, and those who went to school, who have certificates, can't even boast of a fair living in Nigeria. So what do you expect them to do? So a lot of them try as much as possible to see that they make both ends meet. But I think we should be able to celebrate academics in Nigeria. It's not necessarily about qualification, but what someone can do with the degree he or she has.
Okay, I would like to ask you this, Dr. Emmanuel, right? You just made mention of the get-rich-quick syndrome, and I think that's a canker one that seems to be eating into the very fabrics of our existence as a people. Now, what would you attribute that to? What do you think is responsible for that mindset? Because that is the very core of this conversation.
Okay, let me start with school not scam. It means the kind of perspective people are having about school.
Okay.
Okay, so if education is actually carved in such a way that people will realize that education has some needs to solve in the society, people will begin to try as much as possible to be educated. Not just educated, but solving problems. Okay, let me take an example for ITV is organizing debate.
Yeah, quiz on SN
Radio. You will find out that you may not get a lot of supporters when it comes to things like that. But when it comes to pageantry and some other social, events, you will see a lot of sponsors coming in. So these are, information we are passing to the youth.
Right.
So we should make sure, as a country, that we are giving education that, that rightful place.
Okay.
That should have.
Absolutely. Now, let me take this conversation. Let's take this conversation now to the UK or the USA. Joining virtually this morning, we have Michael James. He is the MD Thames Valley Media right there in the USA. Good morning, Michael. Thank you so much for joining the show today. Regain connectivity with Michael. Let me take this conversation down to you, Mr. Benson. Now, for a lot of Nigerians, and I also feel this is where the conversation is also tilting towards too, what's the point of going to school, going to acquire all of those degrees if an average person who hasn't been to the four walls of the university or to school can, just gather some certain followership by doing interesting, stupid stuff online and have amazing followership and also make money out of it? So what's the point of me going to school then?
There's reasons you need to go to school. Apart from the fact that it's a very good platform to network, because you need people as you grow in life. And school is one of the places you can get long-time friends who you can network in business and social life and every other thing. Again, it builds confidence, because you are in a place where you have peers who will challenge you and they will champion you to do greater things. So it gives your confidence. Then you can as well say it's required for your mental health. Right. You can't live in isolation. It's a place where you learn from others, not just what you learn in school, but from your peers as well. There are a lot of reasons why we should go to school. And let me correct this impression. School is not scam. But if it's not set in the right direction, it becomes a challenge. I think the challenge is what we should deal with. And I say it over and over again, skill sets.
Okay.
The school is the best thing that can happen to you. And I don't know, we keep saying people are not interested in going to school, but you fail to realize that they don't really have the enabling environment. Insecurity is affecting them in the north. So many schools are closed. You understand? Now, if you look at the statistics, there are 8,000 public schools, primary schools, public in Nigeria. But for the secondary education or junior secondary, you have 15,000. So where do you absorb the 80,000 public schools? There are a lot of things that empirical data don't lie. There are a lot of things that you need to look at. And again, look at the literary and the digital literacy space. You get, it's a space that has come to stay. It's quite recent, And it's a place that a lot of people are learning very fast. You cannot quantify it as of now, but that space is open for great things. People are learning at the comfort of their homes. And most times we don't quantify that aspect. People go online and get certification in different fields. So it's building fast. And nowadays you have younger people. We have incidents in JAM where you are saying people are too young to write JAM. So it shows that let's encourage and reinforce the positive things that are going on in that aspect, not just the negative.
Okay, now let's see if we've regained connectivity now with Michael James. Michael, good morning. Thank you so much for joining us on the show. We'd love to get your own input in regard to the Olodo uprising. The question is, the Nigerian youth, have we really lost interest in education? What have you been observing right there at your end? Michael, please go ahead.
I didn't hear the question. How are you?
Michael, how are you? Now, the Olodo uprising, when you hear that term, what comes to your mind? What have you observed so far so good right here in Nigeria and also in the USA?
Please, can you come back again with that question? Because, I'm not really getting you very clear.
Okay, the Olodo uprising, I would love to get your thoughts regarding the whole conversation generally, if you've been listening to us.
I've not been. Just, I've not been. All the same, I don't know. What is it? What can you just tell me the topic so that I can follow up?
Okay, so we have been talking about the fact that it seems a lot of Nigerian youth have lost interest in education, and also trying to link it up with a recent conversation from a rapper YC where he talked about the Olodo uprising. So what do you make out of all of it?
As a matter of fact, our youth these days are, becoming very lazy. I don't know why, because everything they want to put the blame on the government. But for me, I don't think that is the issue. These days they want to get a shortcut, and it doesn't work that way. And that is the reason why education is very, very important. Education is key. It's key for our parents to see how they can, talk to their children or try to lure their children to school at the earlier stage. Because these days, the youth of these days, they just want quick money. Quick money syndrome is what is happening, and that is not good for us. And like I said just now, people want to blame government. Oh, government did not do this. That is why people are going to this and that. But that's not true. The basic thing in life is education, and that is the best legacy any parent can give to their children. So when a child is educated, this idea of not wanting to be serious or wanting to do certain things will not occur. So that's my take on that.
To ask, do you think young people still see education as the best and possible means to success?
Yes, I think yes. I think some youths do, but unfortunately, maybe their background, where they come from, they are not having that capacity to educate themselves in terms of monetary. There are some people, like recently I was back home in Nigeria, and I run an NGO personally, something I don't talk about, and the purpose for that is to help people who are who cannot pay their fee. People who cannot pay their school fees. I try to help them to pay some of their fee and also pay their WAEC fee. But I don't make noise about that anyway. So there are a lot of people who really want to do something. Unfortunately, they cannot afford it. So yes, some youths really want to go to school, but just the financial aspect of it is what is making it difficult. But why some who already have been, who already have that mindset of getting quick money through this Yahoo thing, and the rest of them don't even think about education.
Okay.
All right, Michael, thank you very much. Now, I'd like to ask you, Dr. Emmanuel, one of the things that he just said, which I pretty much believe stands out, is the fact that we shouldn't blame the government too much, that the youth have this penchant of heaping the entire blames on the government, that it's not entirely the government's fault. It's not entirely up to the government to create an enabling environment, that the average youth just seems to have this get-rich-quick syndrome and the tendency to want to cut corners and make it real fast. What do you make of that?
I agree with him that everything shouldn't be on the government.
Okay.
And Nigerians should try as much as possible to make sure they learn. But then, before learning takes place, the child must be present.
Okay.
And there should be a level environment for the child to thrive in terms of learning. So if youth are given a good platform to study, I think they will study. And a lot of the youth are ready to study. Okay, so I wouldn't say that the youth are trying, are doing a lot in terms of education.
Okay.
Of course, even in the schools, those in the school, they also try to get rich. They want to ride the best cars. They want to flow with things. But they wouldn't, shift government from the conversation. Governments must play their part.
Okay.
They must play their part. When they play their part, then the institutions, the parents, everyone will ensure that these youth, get involved in education, and then they will be serious with their academics.
All right, Mr. Benson.
Yeah.
There is a recent report that the government is planning to scrap the junior and secondary stage of education in Nigeria. Now, what do you think that would portend for the educational system? Do you think that will have any negative effect on the system?
For me, it depends. First, what is the reason for doing that? What is the goal? You need to understand the objective of what the government wants to do.
Okay.
I understand that probably they are looking at the rates of people dropping out of school. But if you are scrapping the current structure, redesigning it at the expense of not providing a enabling environment, like, you can't run away from serious conversations. In the north, there is insecurity. Most schools are closed.
Okay.
So if you are redesigning your system and people don't have the school to go, you are still going back to square one. And if you are going to school, there is no skill set. You are coming out of the school. Fine, you say the government should not be responsible, but you are not giving me the skill set to be gainful on my own. So we are still going back to the same problem. It's not about the design of the system or the structure as it stands. It's about the content of what is given, and the direction that it can enable the young man to go in his life and journey. And there's something we also need to look at. Who really is a youth?
Okay.
If you look at the United Nations, they are saying a youth is somebody from the age of 15 to 25. In some other contexts, like in Africa, they say from ages 15 to 35. So are those ages from 15 to 25, who should be responsible for that young man, especially at the teens aspects?
Yeah.
You understand? So parents have their role to play, because you can clearly see there is poor parenting. You get, it's something that is all over us. Every day we see it. And parents want to do everything for their children, up to even getting them to write exams in special centers, if it's possible, get jobs for them, rent houses for them. They want to do everything. But there's something that has led to that behavior. And that behavior you see is showing fear. And the fear comes from failure of the system. And what you see that is manifesting currently is reflected from leadership. They say our attitude reflects leadership.
So it all boils down to leadership?
We are connected. I'm connected, you are connected. Ask yourself, what are you doing on a personal level to change the problem we have in Nigeria? On a personal level. It's either you are supporting what is going on, or you are working against it. If you can't clearly define where you stand, it's even a problem on its own. So it's a complicated issue altogether. And when you talk things like this, sometimes I get very personal about it, because this is the future we are discussing here. The youth, they are the future. And you can't tell me that I'm not responsible for my children. I don't know if you understand. Yeah. You can't say I'm not responsible for my child the way he's growing up. A serious-minded parent should take responsibility for his children.
Okay. Well, let's quickly take a short break. When we return, we'll move over to the concluding part of the show. Stay with us.
Onwa is rich in culture and traditions. The people are a mixture of traditional worshippers, Muslims and Christians. Onwa is located at the northern part of Edo State. It consists of 2 local government areas, that is Onwa West and Onwa East. It has a total number of 13 clans and 21 political wards, according to National Population Commission 2006 census. The population of Onwa people is put together at 251,686. The people love tradition and culture. Historically, the people ancestors in deep quest to hand down on their future children a society of love and friendship.
ITV, certainly the best.
Welcome back. Thank you so much for staying with us. You're on to This Morning on ITV, and we have been looking basically at the Olodo uprising, the youth, education, and everything in particular as regards this. I still have my guest in the studio and also joining virtually. Now let me move back to Michael James, if you are still there. Now let's talk about or basically highlight the role celebrities, influencers also play in shaping the younger generation, the young people's priority in the average day Nigerian system.
Okay, thank you very much for that. A lot of our celebrities these days, some of them are role model, while some, I don't know how to put it right now. Yeah, the ones I call role model, let me use Davido, for example. He's somebody who is very a unique person. You know, you want to see people grow together. You want to see you doing things. But why some celebrities just, you know, they just focus on making money and not even caring about what is going on. Take, for example, what is happening now in South Africa, what do you call it, xenophobia that is going on right there. We have a lot of celebrities who are from South Africa who would have spoken about what is going on or talk about it. They don't give a shit. They don't care about it. You know, I think, you know, a celebrity has a very big role to play, you know, with our youth. When we've got the youth look up to them, you know, as role models. So they have a very big role to play by, you know, trying to see how they can, you know, groom this youth to become very responsible in the society.
You, Dr. Chinedu, do you think the kind of person you follow actually determines who you are and reveals a lot about who you are? Because when we talk about the Pele culture, we see that Pele has over 50 million Nigerians following him, cut across age grades and different personalities. What does that even say about the Nigerian people and the younger generation?
Okay, to your question, who you're following, does he reflect who you are? To an extent, yes. Because it's psychological. The more you listen to the person, the more you assimilate what the person is saying, the more you follow him, the more he follows the person's thoughts. Unless the individual have the capacity to, you know, filter some of the information whoever he's following. So apart from that, I think Nigerian youth should focus more on academic things that will give them light in life. When you talk about following someone, it reveals actually your interest, where your interest lies. Whoever I will follow determines what I want to be in life, the kind of niche I want to carve for myself. That will determine who I will follow. And so, you know, comparing who you're following and what you want to be in life, it determines your goal, your aim, and what you want to achieve in life.
All right, quite interesting. Now, talking about that, Mr. Benson, right? He just said that the people you follow actually speak about your interest. So where your interest lies will determine who you will follow. Now, Rice said somewhere in that conversation that, you know, the problem is not necessarily Pella himself, though I think at some point he said that. He said the problem is those that consume his content. And I've seen a lot of persons share that thought as well, that, you know, it doesn't really matter what anybody chooses to. After all, it's a free-for-all. Everyone is trying to survive. So he said that the problem, you know, is those consuming the content. So imagine, for instance, that I, you know, who is supposed to be an educated person, you know, I would rather follow a Pella than follow someone else who is, you know, creating positive, let me not say positive now, positive is relative, educational content, right? So who really is the problem? Is it Pella or the followers?
No, it's not Pella. And on what my brother said here, that who you follow definitely influence you. Yes, but there are certain things that comes before that. Now I would say, if you look at Pella, the startup, it's love related. And love is a subject that is open to everybody. So there's no restriction when it comes to love. You can easily identify with issues that have to do with love at every stages in life. But having said that, come back to the elementary, the basics. In science, there's what they call feeder, your first 7 years. Everything that you learn at that stage in life, they go directly into your subconsciousness. And your subconsciousness gives like 85% of how you act, you know, and your life and choices and certain things you do. You know, that is science. It's something you can check about feeder. So the primary aspect of your life as a child in your first 7 years defines clearly where you go, where your interest lies and all that. So if you are interested in medicine or engineering or let's say some other fields, what you start looking for is people who are doing things that are related to your field. Now in our situation, at the first 7 years of most children, you ask yourself, what are the interests? What are we exposing them to? And that will also determine tomorrow what you see playing out.
Okay.
You understand? And now, there's something you need to understand. Look at the Yahoo boys. The ones you see doing Yahoo, it wasn't now that they started with that mindset. They were looking at the people who started it in the early 90s. Then it was
the ones they called 419.
419. They're looking at those people. And that was where the interest started developing. When they see them driving the Razor, Pathfinder,
right,
as a then.
Okay.
You know, so it starts from that premise. So that's why what is important for us and what I want us to take from this conversation is to go back to the children at the elementary stage. And that is what is done in Japan and China. At that early stage, they teach them how to create things, how to build things. So they are going with the mindset that if I build this, I'll get this in return. If you look at the richest man in the world, Tesla, his children don't go to conventional schools. They are home tutors, and they learn practical things. You can find out for yourself. So if we look at that aspect, I think nobody can influence a child that you have, you know, given the needed guidance at that early stage.
Absolutely. We really need to leave the conversation here at this point. We've been talking about the whole issue regarding the Olodo uprising debate, and we have been speaking to Benson Ikwaria, policy strategist. Thank you so much for coming. And also Emmanuel Chinedu, PhD, mental health coach, and also joined virtually Michael James, MD, Thames Valley Media USA. Thank you so much for your time today. Well, that's our bit right here this morning in Benin. We take a short break, and when we return, we'll move over to Abuja for more in the show.
This is our Abuja Network studio, and it's still this morning on ITV. I am Charity Tanko. We are taking the conversation up from here, looking at the annual outlook as put out there by NISA.
It usually affects is the lungs. It usually affects is the lungs.
Epilepsy is a neurological problem.
Okay.
It is an injury in the brain which causes someone to begin to convulse, to go into fits
It is curable, but the cure is a long-term thing.
If you eat well and avoid those risk factors that will...
Yes, Nigeria, the federal government have been doing their best over the years, and NISA, also Nigeria Hydrological Services Agency, year in, year out, have been trying to improve their forecast. And in a few years ago, about 6-7 years ago, the forecast of NISA was based on states, which is a little bit difficult for NEMA to be able to work, because if you say this state will be flooded, which part of the states? Then a few years ago, NISA improved to local government based. But recently, from last year, NISA have gotten to community-based, world level, community-based. So we can say, okay, and these states will be flooded, this local government will be flooded. In that local government, these communities, this world will be flooded. And apart from that also, I think NISA also have gone further to be able to make their forecast impact-based. Not only forecasting that this is the community that will be flooded, they have also gone further to talk about the hospitals that will be flooded, the roads that will be impacted, the prison yards that will be impacted, farmland, schools, and so on and so forth like that. So that's make it more precise for any proactive actions from the government and the populace.
Now, talking about proactive actions, Nigeria has been known for reactive actions, and whenever things like this happen, and people out there are saying that it is expected that every plan by federal government and state government should start even before the rainy season. But still, they keep wondering, why does it have to be after the incident?
Yeah, that has changed. There has been a change in the past. If you're following, in the past 3 years, there have been a change because the subnationals, I mean the states governments, are buying into this now more and more. People have come to realize that flooding is an issue that affects all, especially the federal government also have been proactive, about this, because the president have made it clear that that is part of hydrological activities, part of the renewed hope agenda, simply because flood impacted over 190 million Nigerians every year. And you can imagine that's almost about 85% of the population. And year in, year out, their houses are lost, lives are lost, farmland are lost, and things like that. They are, tumult, crying, So one of the major cardinal points of renewed hope agenda is to be able to fix, to do something about this flooding. And it's also translated to food security. If you also look at the multiplying effect. So tackling this headlong, it's also a way of renewing the hope of so many millions of Nigerians to be able to be sure that our loved one will be safe, our farmlands will be safe, food security will be guaranteed. So, and to this effect, the federal government have been doing a lot, giving money to subnationals and to be able to combat this.
Information management, I understand, is part of the issues here, how Nigerians get to know, like you said earlier, that now it is precise, areas where these floods are likely to affect when they come. How, because from time to time government will announce, if you are staying at this particular point, you should move to where? How about the vulnerable persons, vulnerable in the sense that they are not capable of, moving from where they are to where they need to be, per se. What more can government do, apart from informing Nigerians to move from lower lands to higher ones where the flood will not meet up with them?
Yes. The issue of flooding, like I said, is a national, issue, everybody's business, and even the present government have designated it as a national security, issue. So it involves everybody, both at the federal in level, the executive, the legislators, the judiciaries, the subnational, the state government, the local government, the communities themselves and everything, because they are the ones that are impacted. So it's all hands are on deck. So for NISA, Nigeria Hydrological Services Agency, and NIMET, Nigeria Meteorological and Authority, and NEMA, National Emergency Management Agency. These three agencies have a robust collaboration. At least for the past 3 years down the line now, the collaboration between these agencies have been so robust to be able to tackle the issue of flooding. So they synergize together and they work together, and that's why we have seen improvement over the years, and the past 3 years precisely, in our flood management. Now, NISA roll out their annual flood outlook after NIMET have brought out their seasonal, climate prediction. NIMET bring out their annual flood outlook, and that annual flood outlook, that document is not only a document, a working document for NEMA, for emergency preparation. They pick it up and down scale it to the SEMA, the state emergency, even to the local emergency management, and to the communities. Even NISA also is not sleeping. They also go on sensitization to those particular communities to be able to let them be aware of what is happening. And in the NISA documents, as it was before, it's not like that anymore. They just bring a forecast. But now, in that document, there is also preventive measures, also in the document, and also those island and safe places, safe corridors are also mapped out, and also in those documents also. So it's getting more and more robust and more easier for people. And also the partner with National Orientation Agency, which has roots in all the local governments in Nigeria, and then scale this into different languages, Nigerian languages. So for data management, for information management, for me, I believe it is maybe around that kind 75% for now, which is far better than
for an upscale of the information being disseminated to the
yes,
populace, yeah?
From the view of Nigeria Hydrological Services Agency, NISA, and they have dashboard, and they're also working on how on your phones, how you can easily get this alert and things like that. And apart from that, there are predictions not only for just representing it, they also have weekly flood forecast, seasonal flood forecast. They also dish it out, apart from national alert by the DG, anytime it is necessary. So we are getting there more than ever before.
Okay, you seem to have it covered at the federal level. At the federal level, there's sensitization awareness, there's campaigns. You even mentioned National Orientation Agency, which for me, I would say it's not doing enough, because I've not even seen any promotional jingle anywhere. At least none has been brought to the station. So I'm not even talking about that one. Now, at the federal level, it looks as if everything has been put in place. Create awareness, roll out the blueprints, roll out the paper for everybody to work with. But would you say the state governments are actually implementing this? Looking at what just happened in Lagos.
Yes.
And it's been a recurring this month. Even in FCT.
We have 36 states, and less than 1/3 of the subnationals are bought into this.
Less than 1/3.
Yes, that's the problem we have. I mean, less than 12 states. Less than 12 states. So, NISA.
For this year alone, we're looking at 33 states.
Yes, for Lagos State, Rivers State, Bayelsa, Delta, Jigawa, they have taken it. They have owned it, and they take it so serious and everything like that. So NISA, I believe what they are trying to do now is to make sure that the state governments buy into this more and more, because it happens in their domain and it's closer to them. So that's one of the major problems in combating flood in Nigeria. Let all the states buy into it, because no state is exempted. If it's not high risk, it'll be medium risk. Almost every state of the nation.
One of the major problems is the blockage of the waterways, drainage systems. And then we understand that most governments, I don't think they have this strategy in terms of evacuating waste from homes. And then, for example, in Abuja, I have witnessed those of them that pick up waste from households. Have we ever asked where they dump these refuse? Have we ever asked? Because I've seen, because they believe that where it is most appropriate to dump them on the water channels, believing that water will come, take them to wherever they want. They don't know that it may be part of the problems. So what can government actually do in this regard, at least to monitor the activities of these persons, and then ensure that they have a workable system in terms of disposing waste from people's homes and other places?
Yes, thank you very much for that. You see, as we are discussing, you have been hearing government, and that's what I want to disabuse. Flood management is not left alone for governments. So as far as I'm concerned, as a professional, I know that the governments have done their parts, and they have done it very well up to this level. But it remains for the people. Like I said, everybody have their own parts. I gave a kind of a blueprint some times ago when I was asked on the NTA that federal government have their parts, especially in the policy formation and things like that, and also execution of it. The legislators, we have constituency projects. Yes. Why can't every legislators, especially those who are in that flood-prone areas, communities, make their constituency projects to be flood management? These are small things like building of dike, evacuation of drainages, and things like that, and piling of sandbags. They are not so costly. So it can be a constituency project that even the community can also direct labor, can do that. And they also have a sense of belonging. So imagine if all the legislators make their own constituency project to be flood mitigation projects. That's fine. That's their own part. Governments, federal government allocate funds for flood mitigation, which they have done. At least about a year or so was given to each subnationals and everything like that. So I don't know how many states what the money for, but nevertheless, then individuals have their own part to play. Is your life, is your community, and is the flood ravaging that community? Make sure two major things are very, very important. But one, don't build and don't stay in flood plain. So simple. Number one. Number two, drainages. It's in front of your house. Make sure you clear your own in front of your own house. Everybody does that, then it will be easy. And like flood and the dumping of refuge, yes, we have them all over. Bambola, this kind of a thing, yes. Our dumping of refuge, of course, we don't have incinerators in most of our states, and even maybe FCT here, we don't have where we can.
FCT has a place.
Yes, but
the place where they dump refuse in the city.
Yes, incinerator.
I don't know if it's still functional.
I doubt. Yes, we have one around that. Yes, yes. But that was a long time ago. I had about 17 years ago, but I don't know whether it's working. But most of the places, so I understand that they dump it there and things like that, and it blocks the drainage. But mostly in FCT, it has to do with flood-prone areas.
This flood-prone area you just mentioned now, individuals should be on the lookout for flood-prone areas before they even build their houses or even purchase a land or something. But somebody is actually responsible for this, because an ordinary Nigerian would not know what a floodplain area is, what a flood-prone area is. There are officers who are in charge of this. When somebody wants to purchase a land or want to register for land, there is a place they go to. Now, would you say that when it comes to checkmating these people that give out land to people indiscriminately, are you saying government is doing enough?
Yeah, that's the part of the urban development and planners, and I believe they are doing their job. But even as an individual, when you go to buy a land, even physically, you can identify. Like I told some people, of course, I know that some estate agents and land people, they take people during dry season to.
Exactly. When you're buying it,
so
how will you know?
I understand that, but I've told people personally, I keep on saying it, check this land during raining season. Even there are signs of swampy areas. Some people you even know be near the streams and this, they will still want to buy. Look at in FCT here, we have our own flood-prone areas, but right now, I thank God there have been a big canal, by the government that they have done there, and they don't have much of it again, like as it used to be in the past. So these are simple measures, and yet they can save lives. They can also they are infrastructural control measures for flood, mitigation. So they don't blunt. You refuse to, then there's going to be a problem.
They will tell you in this economy, move to where?
Exactly. That's the rationale. Some people even in some places in Abuja here, they know it's floodplain. When it's rainy season like this, they move and go to other places to stay for 2 or 3 months. Then they come back again. I mean.
But some pray that the rains don't get that, become that more intense, yeah, or the flooding does not get that intense, so that they still, maintain where they are staying. And then when it now comes heavily, people tend to pay for it dearly. A lot of losses.
Yes, that is it. But like I said, these are personal, steps that individual can take, especially in the urban cities. And it's simple things, and it's not so much costly. But like I said, some subnationals, states have owned it, and they are doing very much. They have gone very far, like the states have mentioned, they have done very well and to reduce the effect of flooding in their states. But at the same time, also, we cannot rule out the effect of climate change. Look, every government environment.
These are areas where come. What should perhaps government should also do?
When months clearing of drainage community statewide.
What about FCT?
Yeah, FCT here.
Because FCT is also included.
Yes, yes. But the State Emergency Management, the NEMA, I think DG for FCT is also working. I'm aware of that. He's my personal friend, and I've seen them, going on sensitization and trying to organize what they call stakeholders meetings and things like that. If you watch the flooding in FCT, it's not as how it was about 4 years ago. So actually, there have been enough work by this present government. We cannot take it away from this present government, because as a professional and in the water sector, flood forecasting and mitigation and droughts for almost 2 decades, I found that this government, present government, have practically and proactively put the issue of flood mitigation at the front burner, and they have done much.
As we speak, Nigerians are watching, and they will be like, well, some of the things you are saying now, some of the things that you're talking about, to them, it may come as music to their ears. Some are taking it with a pinch of salt. Why? Because they have not seen it happening. And Nigerians are used to all these promises. And also we have the issue of, there are people who are saying that all these things will amount to drama, because government is used to being reactive, in the sense that they wait. When it happens, they just go to that area, they roll out mattresses, noodles, and all of that, which we know does not take care of the problem at all. So what will you be telling Nigerians now, since you are so optimistic that government is doing its best?
Yes, in a society, you will still find some, even if the government is doing their very best.
Majority of Nigerians.
No. Like you have said also, if you followed the trend in the past 3 years, I kept on mentioning it because I'm emphatic about that, you find that the flood mitigation measures have been put in place. There is a paradigm shift to preventive proactiveness. I didn't tell you, all over Nigeria, NISA has a monitoring stations which they are monitoring. You see, before we do had about lagdo. 7 years, 6 years, 5 years, 4 years ago. Do you hear anything about lagdo? Yes.
Yeah, I think they don't release, water from that dam
you
on
see,
a yearly basis.
You see,
all right.
Yes. What I'm trying to say is, nothing just happened like that. There's somebody behind it. The government is the one behind it. They are working, and everybody is seeing it. Like now, we have early warning alerts in some major places in the country. We have siren in case the water and river level rises up to flood level. There is a trigger of alarm in some places and communities. All these things are put in place. These are not rhetorics. They are not rhetorics. Sensitization is not rhetorics. But clearing of drainages, government cannot come to be clearing your drainage for you. Dumping of refuse, government cannot come and do that and say stop doing this. They have announced it, they have said it. It is your own personal responsibility to do.
Should be there to enforce it.
It's as simple as that.
Yes, enforcement. When we are talking about enforcement, you talk about, let me tell you another aspect of an issue to this. Maybe I will say political aspect or whatever, to flood mitigation. Do you know that people sabotage an effort of governments simply because they want this thing to occur.
As much as I would like us to continue this conversation, we are short of time. But one thing I guarantee is that you will definitely be back here for us to continue. Thank you very much for coming over and for this enlightenment. And I'm sure that Nigerians must have learned one or two things from what we have discussed here. Thank you very much for being part of the program.
Thank you for having me.
What are we been discussing? The 2026 flood outlook, the effects and preventive measures with our guest, Pastor Femi Bejide, who is a former director operational hydrology in NISA. You've heard it all. It is not the responsibility of the government to prevent flooding. Individually, we should do our part. We should stop indiscriminate disposal of waste. Make sure your environment is clean. When your environment is clean enough, then you can now point accusing fingers at the authorities. This is where we'll leave off while we hand you over to Lagos for the continuation of the program.
Good morning and welcome.
The Ugewe is the final ceremony of the series of festivals. It is one of peace and lightheartedness, following the more solemn of the ritual year. Ugewe is the festival of the Ewe leaves, a symbol of good luck and joy. It is the most popular of all that heralds the dawn of a Benin New Year, new vow, newness of life and freshness of life, and a new hope for the future. In the evening, the Ewe leaves are presented to the Oba of Benin in grand style in a colorful ceremony. The Ihogbe society, amidst singing and dancing, bring the sacred leaves that symbolize good luck, blessings, peace, and prosperity. Each of the senior members of the Ihogbe proceeds to give the sacred leaves directly to the Oba of Benin, and others put theirs at his feet.
would have done all they could to be able to curtail this, for this not to repeat itself. But unfortunately, here are we, and in fact, this one took a different turn altogether, because it's like they were more determined and desperate.
We saw them demonstrating.
And then giving deadlines, and like that. And before even the deadline, we started having issue killing quietly, here and there. So it's very sad, and not really better. But again, that is explaining the average black man's mindset when it comes concerning their fellow black men. I remember one time I went to one of the shopping malls to buy a set, and they were attending to me, tested it, and then they were to pack it when some Lebanese, 3 of them came and wanted to buy the same type of television. In fact, smaller. Mine is even bigger and more expensive. You need to see how this Nigerian just forgot about me and just concentrated on these Lebanese who are
buying, the skin color,
who are buying what was not as expensive as what I was buying. And then I just kept my cool and said, let me see where this thing is going. So they attended to them, tested for them. When they got to the point of receipt, of course, that's the point I was. So they issued them the receipt, and then they wanted to pass. I said, guys, what are you guys doing? They said, no, I should just be patient. I said, no. I said, I just kept my cool because I wanted to see where this is going to. I said, no, you can't do this until you package my thing, put it in my car. You can't attend to these people. And it sounded strange to them. And in fact, I think the manager also, or supervisor, when he came and he asked, he was almost like telling me that I should come so that they can. I said, no, it's not going to happen here. So that's how we blacks think and feel about this.
About ourselves.
And then when you see what happened in South Africa, how many whites did you really see harassed? This is just it. They have whites who are foreigners. Did you see them harass them? Now, that's because they also know that the gods of Africa are the same. Try that with an American, you know what would have happened. But they know that the government of Africans are going to talk, particularly Nigerians. This is going to be a still news. After 2, 3, 4, 5 days, another issue is gone. So they understand how this thing works, because we are all Africans. So they know how this thing works. So that's the saddest part of the whole thing.
Okay, Wasinda, talking about that, are you saying the government of South Africa didn't handle it correctly or quite the way it should be handled? Do you think they went to sleep with this whole issues?
Well, I wouldn't really say if they handled it well or not, but the outcome is actually telling us, what it is, particularly few days to the deadline that they gave. You saw how intensive and how aggressive it became. Even though I know at some point the president had a meeting with some of the leaders, I think 24 hours before the 30 days. But what was the outcome of it? They still go ahead and carried out that. In fact, the sad part of it is that the end result of it is that there was looting. They started looting, people's shops and stuff like businesses. That. So if it was properly handled, they should have known that after 30, there's going to be looting. So measure would have been put in place. So for me, I'm a bit worried the way African leaders think, and then we blacks think about ourselves. That's just where we are now. Otherwise, I don't think that this thing they are saying, okay, you are claiming that the foreigners are taking your jobs, and so now that the foreigners are left, have you gotten the job? Are they going to get the jobs? Are they going to get it? Is it the first time they've asked foreigners to leave? Did they got the job? This is not about the foreigners' problem. It's about your leaders and the policy. But you are just taking vengeance on your fellow person where you're supposed to join forces and mount pressures on your leaders. So this is the sad part, honestly.
It is actually very sad. I don't know if we have Mr. Johnson Afolabi on now. Okay. While we're still waiting for him, I guess is the network issues. While we're still waiting for him, I still have Dr. Sam Wasinda in the house. Okay, Sam, we heard that the government, federal government, seeks compensation for fleeing Nigerians. And on that ground, what legal or diplomatic basis can Nigerians seek compensation?
Again, that I don't know how that is going to really fly. Because with the way the government of South Africa, that's my opinion anyway, handles this. I don't know how the push for compensation will actually fight, because I see it for a situation where they may have some challenges, because if the documentations of their businesses, particularly Nigerians, are not properly documented. So how do you actually estimate and then call for compensation? Because you know how we Nigerians too, sometimes we do our things. We have a way we cut corners, on some things. And I think that the South African government may likely, stand from that point to see how they could resist. But however, I think it's a good move for Nigerians government to actually push for compensation of Nigerians who have actually, lost because they have to start from somewhere, coupled with the fact that they were evicted, forced out of their country and their businesses. So I feel that the government should push harder on the compensation. Is the right direction to go. And I think the diplomatic meeting should be as urgent as possible before it will now become one of the stale news. Because after a while, you can be rest assured that if they don't push it, before you know it, we are talking about something else in Nigeria.
Okay, so some Nigerians are actually of the side that South Africans are also working here. Some of them also have their businesses here. We just have to retaliate back to them what they had done to Nigerians. In your opinion, do you think that is right?
Well, you see, that may be a bit difficult for Nigerians because we are not known with that kind of attitude. Nigerians are very welcoming. Nigerians are very accommodating. And Nigerians can tolerate. Before you see Nigerian trying to react over an issue, it means it has gone, over the board. But however, I think that the government should put a stronger measure, probably to also put the South Africans under pressure, so that the government will understand that these things that you people did to us while we're in your country, we also can do the same. Maybe you have forgotten that you have your people also in our own country doing the same business, in our country. Their business may not be much, but the few that are here are capital intensive. Particularly when you talk about some of the network providing, if they clamor on such people, it will tell so much. We have over 100 million Nigerians who are actually subscribers to some of their businesses, and so they make money in trillions. So if Nigerians decide to climb down from that direction, it's going to tell more on them. But I don't really think that's really the best way to go. There are better diplomatic measures that they can take, and then create some, condition, like I said, that will make the government have no choice than to move to the direction of considering compensating these people who have lost some of their livelihood, because some of them, that's the whole of their investment. They have lived all their life in South Africa. Their investment had been there, So these are some of the challenges that I think the government should look at, rather than trying to see how we can also retaliate. We are not good at retaliation. It's not our way as Nigerians.
It won't even be nice to retaliate. But anyway, my next question would have gone to Mr. Johnson Afolabi. I don't know if we have Mr. Johnson ready right now. Okay, we're still finding it difficult to join Mr. Johnson. But let me quickly ask you this. What factors do you think actually triggers these attacks?
Well, it's the same system of governance. Africa has some resemblance in their governances.
You keep saying this. You keep saying this. What's in that? What resemblance?
Yeah, because all African government has to change their citizens. It's the same applicable to us here. Otherwise, in the first place, some of these businesses that Nigerians went to do there, if we have a conducive environment here, what would they go and do in places like South Africa? We are more blessed than them. We are more richer than them. We have opportunities more here than there.
But there's nothing wrong if you decide to.
Yes, but what I'm trying to say is that most of the people who actually, if I wish we'll have Mr. Johnson to tell you,
join us,
you will be shocked to let you know that it is the situation of the country that actually injected some of them. It wasn't actually business that took them there, but because they needed to survive.
What's in that? We've heard these South African people say Nigerians come there to take their women, Nigerians come there to take their jobs, Nigerian comes there, Nigerians go there and they do better than them. Don't you think that is enough to trigger it?
It's not enough to trigger it. Okay, at the end of the day, having said Nigerians should leave, for example, What resort to looting? Why not they start thinking of what to do? Is it the next move? Was it supposed to be looting? That's to tell you the kind of mindset that they have. I think they're looking for people who actually work, and probably be paying them, for doing business in their land. For me, that's how I interpret it. Because if you are saying that the foreigners came and they are doing better than you, how? They are doing business on your soil. So all you needed to do is probably you learn the business and do the same because you are already at advantage. So for you to be saying that they collected your women forcefully, they manipulated your women, I don't think that's true. The women would have seen some kind of energy. They would have seen some skills, some that probably the South African people decided it, waiting for their government to do everything, and then even the foreigners probably be paying allegiance to them. Because if you are saying this is the issue, for me, if there was no looting, it would have made a little sense. But now, after the people left, you started going to loot their shops. That's what you are looking for. And I can tell you for free, in less than 1 year, the same people, you will hear the story at the end of the day. But I pray they don't end up, tearing themselves now. Because it's still the same. Listen to me. See, a crocodile is a crocodile, a lizard is a lizard. So this one, they are saying that they came to collect their jobs.
That's your parable is actually, a crocodile is a crocodile and
a lizard is a lizard. So they look like this. They are in the same family, but they are not the same. If you are not it, you are not it.
Okay. Let's look at the ECOWAS region. How can ECOWAS and the African Union contribute to this in making peace?
Again, my position can be very fun. These people are the same. They think the same. Only those who are in the leadership cadre, the politicians, they have their things. Even if they tell you they are going to do it, they are going to look at it from the political side of the whole thing. Otherwise, before we get to this place, the African Union would have stepped in long before now. We wouldn't have gotten to where we are now. So why we must allow things to go worse, in fact, go out of hand before they are now thinking to write it down and then sit down to have a conversation? That's because, like I said, every one of them understands themselves and they know how they behave to each other. And I think it's high time for the government, particularly the government of Nigeria, that is the giant of Africa. We're supposed to be setting an example of how these things will work. And one of the things is that I think it's high time for our government doing the needful so that some of these African countries can start respecting us and then start learning from us how governance should be run. But unfortunately, for the fact that they even hear that you are in Nigeria, it angers them. In fact, they wish that more things happen more than this because they feel like it's either you don't know how to do what you are supposed to do or you are not laying good example. But for me, the ECOWAS and the AU can actually step into this by trying to see how they can sit on the round table and see how they can resolve it. But if it continues this way, I think South Africa has a lot to lose at the end of the day.
Talking about the government, talking about Nigerian government, what responsibility does the Nigerian government have towards the affected citizens that just came back from, besides seeking for compensation for them?
Well, a system that is working or that's assumed to be working is supposed to have some emergency plans. And one of it is, for me, I expect the government for now to actually work out a temporary accommodation for these people, even if they have to put them together so that they can actually get their acts together. Because some of these people, truth be told, you'll be surprised that the whole of their family and their life have been South Africa. So they are just coming and not even knowing where to start. So I think the government should be able to create a foundation, first and foremost, for them, where they can at least stay to put themselves together. But I don't know if we have such, facility. I know in Lagos, we have some places where we have emergency resident, so I think government can actually start from there. And then secondly, which for me, I'm trying to see the possibility, except I want to lie to myself, would have been that there would have been also a budget to cushion their suffering, but of course, we who are already on ground, they have not been able to cushion our own suffering. Is it the ones that just came in now, they'll be able to cushion their suffering? That's why I said, except I want to lie to myself. But I think the government can actually concentrate on these people, considering the fact that they are just coming in and they have lost quite a number of things. And then the trauma they have also, undergo. So I think the government can put up something for them, which I hope the government are doing that already.
Well, Dr. Wasinda, let me still ask if Mr. Johnson Afolabi is with us now. We have a lot of questions we would have loved to ask him and hear from him. We want to know how this whole thing played out in South Africa before they were all brought in. Do we have Mr. Johnson Afolabi now? Okay, so we'll go on. What long-term measures can reduce xenophobic attacks across African countries? Not just the South African, because other African countries are saying, there was a time we saw a video where Ghana was also saying, I don't know if that was true, but we also saw a video where Ghana was saying Nigerians should leave Ghana.
So you see, like I said, the citizen ought to start understanding some realities. That some of the responsibilities that the government of their country ought to give to them, if they are not doing it, the pressure should not be on your fellow black man. Your black man is not your problem. Whatever he's doing in your country is also contributing to the economy of your country.
True.
They have to first understand that. So they are not taking out of your economy, they are rather contributing into your economy. But you see, there's this lack of understanding, which I feel like these people in position intentionally and deliberately allow it to continue to happen, because it gives them a leeway to be able to continue and perpetuate in their things, because it's a full distraction. Because rather than holding your government accountable, you are busy chasing somebody out of the country. And for me, I feel the governments are more comfortable with that, because the pressure is not on them, rather the pressure is on themselves, so that they can continue to get away with some of the things. So I think it's high time for citizens for this to stop. It takes them to stop it by starting to mounting pressures on their governments to do the needful, particularly politicians that they vote into power, to do that which they promise to do them, and the reason why they are voted into power. But until we start seeing it, I don't think the governments are ready to get some of these things resolved, because it favors them in a way.
Wasinda,
yes.
Let me take you on that question.
Yes.
Well, how does it favor them?
I
mean, is there any government that wants to see citizen not comfortable where he or she is living? How will you say it favors them?
Okay, I will tell you why I said it favors them in a way, because they cannot tell us that they don't feel the pains of the masses. And yet you hear when they are reading budgets, when they are making expenses, you hear the expenses in billions, but the billions does not affect the people. That's one. Number two, as long as corruption still runs in the veins of Africa and African leaders, what do you expect? Who do corruption favor? Does it favor the masses? It favors some certain people in government. So you can't take that away from the reality. It may not favor the leader of the government, but it favors some people in government. Corruption does not favor the poor. It favors the elite, those who are in positions, who are in opportunity to do the... Let me tell you this. You see, even in the case of Nigeria, as we are speaking now, if it is not properly handled, the federal government can actually even release some allocation to these people and it will never get to them. Because it's actually an opportunity for some people to enrich themselves. Okay, check the one we have usually even in Nigeria. There will be flood and somebody's house has been wiped away. You are going to give him 1 carton of Indomie. How do you explain that? Somebody just lost the entire of his property and what federal government allocates is an Indomie. You want to think that it's the federal government that actually allocated the Indomie? And then by the time they tell you how much they release, you'll be hearing like maybe like 60-something billion for an Indomie. It's not possible, man. So corruption, a chain along the line, will make sure what's supposed to get to the people to ease their pressure is not getting to them. And that is why those people who are also releasing the money should be intentional about corruption. Otherwise, it will continue to favor the government. So that's what I mean by it favors the government in a way, because some people who are actually supposed to disburse this can sit on it because they know that nothing will happen. And it's like that in almost all the African nations. Nobody will call them to book, nobody will call them to account.
Very sad. It is very, very sad. But moving on, we still have Nigerian citizens who are living overseas in other countries. What lessons should this teach them to better protect themselves abroad, or Nigerian government to better protect their citizens in overseas?
Well, for me, like I said, our government should try as much as possible to do the needful so that they can step our integrity. You know, we're only king when we're here. Sometimes once you cross, you know how you are treated, particularly when they see you with your Greek passport. Not because of you, but because of the news that emanates from your country, what they think about you, what they know about you, what they heard about you. And so that alone is a protection. It's either is positive or negative. So when your country hold you in a high esteem, respect the value of life. They know that we here, the way, you know, the issue of insecurity, I don't really want us to go there. We'll be talking about it almost all day. I'm even excited that we're not talking about insecurity, you know, this morning, but you can't still take them out of conversation. True. Okay, the way we handle life, the way we treat the issue of life, you know, this is some of the things that will further make the countries that you are in conscious that, oh, these people, their government care about them. You don't take them for granted. So whatever you want to do. So for me, that is where the measure even starts from. The way the government of the country, Nigeria particularly, treats her citizens while we are here. I think that gives us that sense of, you know, that. And then that reduces, because you see, when we understand that the way you came into our country is by Japa, they may not understand, but they don't know that this one ran out of his country because it's overstretched. I want to maltreat you because something made you to actually run. And I feel that you don't have a choice than to stay here. So that alone can make me maltreat you. So I think the government of Nigeria, the governance of Nigeria can make this place conducive, whereby for me to travel should be a choice, should be a business reason. And I think with that, I will be respected. You can imagine when you travel on a business trip and also, you will not be treated the way like somebody who just smuggled that through Libya or whatever and find himself. They know that this one came out of desperation. So it's two different approach, you know, they'll actually give you. But Nigeria, please step up their treatment of their citizens. Let's try to clean up some of these things that have given us bad name internationally, so that when they see you as a Nigerian, they welcome you, they appreciate you that you even visit their country, rather than they just say, you're from Nigeria, oh yeah, security, start tightening up, a Nigerian is here. And not because you are what they think, but because of the news that emanate, you know, from their country. So I think the government should do quite a lot, and that's the way to go, even to the other African nation leaders. Let's try to step up our citizen respect, images, our country images in particular, so that we can be better appreciated when we go out there.
Okay, Wasinda, you have said a lot. You want the government to, you know, step up in activities of governance, and then trying to give Nigeria a good name because of the stories that comes out of Nigeria. You mentioned one of it, insecurity. But moving forward, what policies, recommendation would you give the government, the federal government? Because you have just talked about, you know, making the citizens comfortable. So what recommendations can you give the federal government? Policy recommendations?
Well, we don't even need to give them. They'll have it. They should implement it. There's no need to give them anything. They know, because before they came into power, particularly this ruling party, they have a manifesto. And they had a policy on how they were going to drive it. They should go back to it and drive it. So we don't need to give, I don't need to suggest any new one. There's nothing we want to suggest that our governments are smart. We have one of the smartest governments in the world. So if they are ready to carry out the policy they have with them is enough, they should please implement what they said. They should please do what they campaign and promise Nigerians they are going to do. Once they start doing this policy, I can tell you the country will become a better place. Some of these people who are even out there, can tell you for free, they will plan their return. But as long as these policies that they have, which is good, I don't think the manifesto currently of APC, you cannot tell me that is a worse policy. They have one of the best. But are they implementing it the way they said it? That's where we have a problem. So they should go back and implement their policy. They should do their manifesto. And that will give Nigerians a safe place for people to live and, you know, live a comfortable life and do business at a level playing ground. You know, whereby, like I said, for me, it's not going to be Japa. I'm actually going for probably vacation, or I have a business that I know that can also strive, that will strengthen, you know, my business here in Nigeria, but not on the ground of Japa. And the reason why Japa will continue is because these policies are not looking to. So the current ruling government have a good policy. To be sincere, let them implement it. But what they are implementing, I don't know what it's called, but their policy that we know, that makes them to an extent trust them that they were going to deliver, I don't think they are focusing on it, which is the issue of power, security, education, agriculture. None of these things have been really, really considered. So those are some of the things that if they put in place, I can tell you for free, a lot of people who are out there, outside this country, have no business being out there. You can imagine a medical doctor or somebody that is established selling the whole of his property just to go and wash plate abroad. Does it make any sense, logically?
Okay, we were looking at federal government seeking compensation for fleeing Nigerians from South Africa. What way do you think federal government can get this compensation? And do you think even when they get it, these monies will get to the hand of the returnees, Nigerian returnees from South Africa?
Okay, you see, there's a diplomatic way of doing things. They know about it. Of course, they've started because I heard that documentation currently is ongoing.
Okay.
You know, they are trying to get documentation of those who have businesses, what are their businesses, and so on. My only worry is that these people, I hope what they are stating, they actually have a proof for it. Because Nigeria, like I said, we are also one of the biggest problem of ourselves. We have a way we cut corners over some issue. And this is why when it gets to this point, it is really very difficult to attest, you know, the level of, you know, the things that you want or that you have lost. But whatever they are able to come up with, I think the government will be able to negotiate. Thank God we have ambassador there. We have a consular, so they can through, you know, and have a good negotiation ground. There are various ways this negotiation can take place and compensation can actually happen. So for me, compensation is a right step in the right direction. Okay, but my own challenge now, just like you've asked me now, is if this compensation actually comes, I hope it will also get to the people, because that is why I mentioned the issue of corruption earlier. Like I said, sometimes you will see a pint of rice getting to a victim. I don't think what the federal government approved was a paint, but because of that corruption chain, by the time it will get to the people, funny enough, sometimes it doesn't even get to the people who are victims. It gets to people who are connected to the corruptions. So the government should be more decisive this time around, you know, by making sure that what is collected actually get to the people. And that's why I said, as they come by, the government should also create a system where they can monitor where these people stays.
You know, I was going to ask that.
Yes, they can. You get their details, and then if you have a place you provided for them, which would have been easier, that would be fine. So it helps you to monitor, know that, okay, within the next 3 or 4 months, you would have tell them why they are still, you know, within. The second is that some of them may already have some back to maybe their. You can also get their details. So time you just call and you handle that. But if this documentation are not properly done here, it is only the one of South Africa that is done properly, because it's like very interesting system. They can document it out there. It's not because we can't do it in here, but because if we do it in here, some people that feel they should benefit. You know, people benefit from everything. Even what does not concern them, they want to benefit more. And that is why the government at this point needs to be more decisive and intentional to ensure that these actually get the compensation by the time the government are able to negotiate. And otherwise, like I said, it's going to be story all the way. You only hear that, okay, XYZ was gotten, but you'll be shocked at the number of people who will come out later and tell you that, I'm sorry, I didn't get to hear from me. Several times I've had, even the case of victims, by the time you invite them, the people that came had no connection with the victims, and they are the ones that are going to benefit. So these are so many and a whole lot that I think our government really need to deal with it. Otherwise, whatever the good they are doing disappears, and we will interpret what get to us. We will not interpret what they said. If you tell me that you have released something to me and I saw it on paper, it didn't get to me, you have lied to me. And so it is your duty to trace it and find out where this thing is missing. So that's again my worry. The compensation is a step in the right direction, but ensuring that whatever they get for compensation to these people get to these people, then I think that's where Nigeria needs to work hard. The government system need to really be well structured to be able to reach out to these people.
Okay, let's look at the government of South Africa. Would you say they handled this case properly? Because, I mean, there's a government in South Africa, there's a president in South Africa. Why did they allow all of this to escalate?
You know, that's from the beginning. I mentioned it, and I'm still going to stay there. This is not the first time. This is not the second time. This is not the third time. So probably, I don't want to say, I stand to be corrected. I just hope that there is no political,
undertone, okay,
to this whole thing. Because from the first and the second, the government would have known that since they have the second and they had the third, most likely this will continue. And as I speak with you, that does not end it. I can still tell you that in another 3 to 4 years, we may still have the repeat of this. So the government has to be decided. Don't have interest in what's going on. I think the government should do much more than what they have done, because in the first place, we shouldn't have gotten to this point.
But why all the time South Africa? That's another question I want to ask. All the time it's South Africa asking people to leave their country. Why? Why is it so? Is it because the government of the day is not meeting up to their expectations or to their needs? I don't know. Or is it jealousy? I don't know how to, describe it. But every time it's South Africa. Why South Africa?
Yes, that's to tell you the mentality of most of the citizens of South Africa. What is their complaint? They are taking our jobs. What is their complaint? They are taking our women. I just ask, how? How are they taking your men and how are they taking you? What are the foreigners doing differently that you are not doing? It's a simple logic. It's a simple logic. And then you are trying to put a focus that the reason why you are asking them to go back to their country is to go and fix their country. The people who are asking them to go and fix their country, who are they? Are they in the position of power to ask other citizens like them, I mean foreigners, to leave, to go and fix their country? So from the undertone, it tells you that there are so much. That's why I say I hope that there is no political undertone to this whole thing, because it's not making sense to me. These people came and they are doing business in your land. You can as well do business. You have a better advantage. You stand a better chance. Your government probably created some opportunities for you, probably access to loan and the rest that Nigerians may not have had. So why not leverage on it? Rather, you are taking your revenge on that. And that tells me that maybe we have to, I wish this guy is there to even tell us how the men in South Africa, are they actually hardworking people, or they are just there waiting for the government to just work and then credit their accounts at the end of the month? Because it's sounding like that is what they meant by that. Because you see, the issue of women is women will not follow a man that does not have where he's going. Women will not follow a man who is not responsible. So if they want us to look at it from the angle of that the women are also not tinted towards them, it simply means that they are not responsible men. It simply means that they are not hardworking men. Because if they are, their women will not, no matter how handsome you are, women does not stay at handsomeness. They look at responsibility. They look at where you are going. So the men should check themselves. Do they have where they are going?
And be hardworking.
And be hardworking, rather than coming to chase people and then you look, okay, imagine that guy they kill. Why would they kill him in front of the shop? If not because they have an interest.
I'm going to come there, but let me ask, do we have Johnson Afolabi with us now? Okay. We're still expecting Johnson. I hope we get him before this program is over. A Nigerian was killed in front of his shop. In this case, how do you think the Nigerian government will handle this?
Well, for me, first, let me even stretch a little on the killing. Why would they even kill him in the first place? What offense did he commit for doing business in their country? Okay, you gave from 9 to 30. It was not even up to 30. So on what ground did you kill him? If not because there is much more to that. In the looting report I had, part of the looting they were looting was not only items. They said they were looking for money. Is that how to get money? So I think for me, this ground that Nigerians government should stand on, like I said, this is how to prove that the security of life and property of Nigeria, irrespective of where they are, is very important.
Yeah.
So Nigerians should capitalize, for me, on this single one. They can stand on this single frontline news and speak tough to the government of South Africa.
Because we're not seeing it on the pages of the newspaper. We're just seeing it in social media. I mean, he was a Nigerian. He was a citizen of Nigeria. I would expect that the government takes it up. You just don't let it go like that.
Yes.
He was a citizen.
Yeah, because you see, that's what I'm saying. Irrespective of where you are in the war, as far as you are in Nigeria, Nigerians should be particular about your life. And that's what I said from the beginning, that when the government of Nigeria start placing such values, people out there will treat us with care, because they know that if a life or something goes wrong, our governments are going to not only speak tough, they are going to act tough. But unfortunately, that's not the focus. And this whole thing for me is happening. Oh God, I don't want to go into politics. It's happening because 2027 somehow is around the corner. Everybody is anything that has nothing to do with 2027. It looks like these governments are not really interested in it. Their interest is very low. So for me, I think the government should leverage on this matter and talk tough with the government of South. This one is not the matter.
But I think we now have an ambassador to South Africa, so he should take it up.
He should take it up here. from the house. In fact, even the house should start talking tough. Even the house should start talking tough. I remember one time Senator Adams Oshomole, was trying to talk tough, but I not trying to trying to reason around it. Those are the kind of talk we need to start hearing from the house. Because don't forget that we still have some Nigerians that have not yet lived. They are going to live about 270 something. Yeah. And even when they still live, we still have more. So Nigerians should better start talking tough. And the remnant of Nigerians that are behind, they will not take it for granted because they feel that after all, the one we kill, the government only spoke once or they didn't talk at all. So that continues. You see, one thing about evil, if you do it and there's no strong measure that is put in place to it, the people will continue to do. So for our government, put a very strong stop to this madness so that it does not go beyond what it is now. I think the government should start talking tough, particularly the Senate and the House of Assembly. They should start talking tough.
Okay, Wasinda, let's deviate a little from South Africa. Let's come back home. And very recently, we got a news where the federal government extends NYSC rotation camp to 6 weeks, scraps military drills and passing out. What's your take on this?
Okay, I tried to go around a little detail on the news, and I tried to understand what the federal government is trying to do. But I'll just say the word of caution somewhere along the line. I think NYSC since 1973, the Director General has always been a military, personnel, and so there's a lot of drilling, and stuff like that. And for them to now say, okay, what they are looking at now is that the Director General will now be a civilian so that it can be more of skill, entrepreneurship, and the likes. For me, kudos. It makes a whole lot of sense so that some of these people can learn other things and understand how some certain things work. Rather than coming out and you're waiting for federal government job, you would have also understand how you can also leverage on some certain things that you can do. And then when you go out there, while you are waiting for the work, already you're doing something. Okay, for me, it's an excellent, brilliant, idea. My only worry is the issue of the withdrawal of the military. Of course, in the report, it also shows that the military are actually not leaving. They are going to be there for security. That's what I read. I don't know if that my own information is authentic. Okay. But for me, I think my worry is I hope that the military should not be withdrawn, because when you withdraw the military, this is the wrong timing. Not this time that we have terrorists breaking into places that are camp, places like schools, camp. And here they will have a very good harmful, because we're talking about NYSC, corpers in their hundreds. One harvesting from such a camp could be deadly. So I think for me, it's right in the direction, but the security should be put into operation rather than drilling them going into never. I want to say that the government create a balance on it, because I think at the point people have some level of security consciousness and security understanding, and that is what the military should also add to that. Rather than just drilling them, there should be some of this security stuff so that they too can be part of the security agency that we can have around up here the knowledge.
What's in that quickly? We don't have much time. You're talking about security, withdrawing the military from the NYS. We also got the news that Boko Haram stormed Borno community, adopts candidates who were taking NECO exams, kills teachers quickly on that.
Yes, that's exactly what we're still saying. So when you withdraw the president of the military or the president of security agency are not in place, it gives these people room to perpetuate, their evil. So we need more. This is not the time to be thinking of pulling out. We should be thinking of how we can cover our security, get more security men, and deploy them into more strategic play, particularly school, because you see this target on school is risky and is dangerous for Nigeria, because they want to really, really discourage people from going to school. And once that happens, you see the level of illiteracy can lead to heavy destruction.
Okay, one word for the Nigerians still in South Africa waiting to be evacuated back to Nigeria.
All right, my one word to the Nigerians that they should stay calm. I want to believe that our governments are working very hard. I've listened to the Foreign Affairs who have addressed countless times. I want to be strongly that the nation is strongly behind you, and the government are doing all it takes to ensure that you are evacuated. I learned that another aircraft will be coming in today and we're moving about 270 something, and hopefully, with that badges, everybody will be evacuated, particularly those who are interested to come back, because it will be shocking for those who, they're even in the midst of it, there are some people who are not ready to come back. So if you are not coming back, stay safe, and if you are coming back, just stay calm, and follow the orders, and then you'll be sure that you'll be in Nigeria as soon as possible.
Thank you so much, Wasinda, for that fantastic advice to Nigerians who are still in South Africa and expecting to come back home to Nigeria. It's unfortunate we couldn't get Mr. Johnson Afolabi, who is a returnee from South Africa. We actually would have loved to hear from him firsthand on how all down in South Africa he was there. We hope that next time he will be able to join us. We won't be having the network issues. Anyway, from our Lagos Network studio, thank you for joining us this morning. I'm Patricia Uremu Gabriels.
A beautiful morning to you, and thanks for joining us on ITV News for this time. I am Harry Igboje. We begin with the Edo State Governor, Senator Monday Okpebholo, who has described the return of the Benin bronzes as a historic milestone for the Benin Kingdom, insisting that the artifacts belong to the Oba of Benin's palace and should not be politicized. Governor Okpebholo stated this on Wednesday when he received the Director General of the National Commission for Museums and Monuments, Olugbile Holloway, alongside the Consul General of Switzerland in Lagos, Connie Kamenzing, Director of the Ethnographic Museum of the University of Zurich, Professor Alice Herzog, Curator at the museum, Dr. Alex Malefakis, and other members of the delegation at the Government House in Benin City. William Siama has details.
Governor Monday Okpebholo commended the Swiss government and other stakeholders involved in the restitution process, describing the return of the artifacts as a significant moment in the history of Benin Kingdom. Governor Okpebholo stressed that the Benin bronzes represent the cultural heritage of Benin people and should remain under the custody of the traditional institution.
There's no point playing politics with what belongs to the palace. I'm telling the truth. We have culture here. I believe in our culture. Those bones are not just bones. They are symbolic, spiritual to our kingdom. Wherever they are, we will find a way back to Nigeria to address them.
Earlier, Director General, National Commission for Museums and Monuments, Olugbile Holloway, said the visit was to strengthen collaboration with the Edo State government and mark another step in international restitution of Benin artifacts.
Benin is ground zero when it comes to restitution and the returning of Benin bronzes. Number one, to build that connection directly with His Excellency.
Speaking on behalf of the Swiss government, Consul General Connie Kamenzing described the restitution as a major milestone in the relationship between Switzerland and Nigeria. She expressed pride in Switzerland's role in the process, pointing out that the collaboration with the National Commission for Museums and Monuments and the museums involved had been successful.
For me, as a Swiss, being able to do that here, Bile Holloway, as well as the three museums that are part of the first restitution, is an extremely pleasure, and I'm very proud that Switzerland has been able to do that.
Present at the meeting, we had Edo State Deputy Governor, Right Honorable Dennis Idahosa, Secretary to Edo State Government, Umar Musa Ikilo, Esquire, Head of Service, Dr. Anthony Okungbawa, Esquire, Commissioner of Information and Strategy, Prince Kasim Afegba, and other top government officials. From Benin, William Siama, ITV News.
The Great GSM Village Union on Airport Road, Benin City, has inaugurated a new executive committee to steer the affairs of the association for the next 7 months. The transition featured the formal handover of leadership, presentation of newly constituted committees, and renewed commitments to unity, peace, and improved administration. Donald Ahimie reports.
Proceedings commenced with the reading and adoption of minutes of the union's last general meeting, which was unanimously accepted as the working document for the newly elected executive. In a symbolic transfer of authority, the outgoing chairman, Mr. Michael Ojezele, handed over leadership and official documents to the new chairman, Mr. Odion Olaye, marking a seamless transition. In his farewell remarks, Mr. Michael Ojezele appreciated members for their cooperation throughout his tenure and urged the new leadership to build on existing achievements. In his speech, the new chairman, Mr. Odion Olaye, pledged inclusive leadership, accountability, and a greater commitment to the welfare and progress of the union.
My agenda is this. It's very simple. The peace and tranquility in GSM village is what I'm bringing in, and the welfare of my people. So stay tuned. Everybody will enjoy my reign.
Some past chairmen, including the John Way of the market, Mr. Stephen Osagi, advised the new leadership to uphold unity, transparency, and discipline in advancing the union's collective interest.
He needs to bring his own standards to make the members understand that yes, this is a new regime.
Take the market to a greater height and do some other things the previous regime couldn't able to fix.
I want to advise the incoming executive to treat everybody equally and to make sure that what will make the market go to the next level should be the agenda.
The highlight was the introduction of the new executive members and the inauguration of strategic committees, including the Special Task Force on Law and Order, Peace Resolution, Environmental, Welfare, ICT, Power and BDC committees, as well as appointment of a task force advisor to strengthen effective administration. The new executive is to pilot the affairs of the union for the next 7 months. From Benin, Donald Ehimie, ITV News.
The Ojionwe of Ikpoba Waterside community in Benin City, Dr. Tasowe Omigye, and the Okaile of the community, Ewe Owigye, have reaffirmed that the Muslim prayer ground located on Ikpoba slope rightfully belongs to the Muslim community. They made the assertion while briefing the news crew on the ownership of the land. Patience Sarogiwa has details.
Dr. Otasowe Omigye and Ewe Owigye say those laying claims to the Muslim prayer ground are not indigenes of Ikpoba Waterside community, but outsiders. The community leaders dissociated Ikpoba Waterside community from the actions of the individuals involved and urged members of the public to disregard claims capable of disrupting the long-standing peaceful coexistence between the host community and the Muslim faithful.
I don't know them. That they are interfering with the Muslim praying ground. I grew up to know that that land is Muslim praying ground. I, as the Ojionwe, advise the Muslims to take whatever step they think necessary to deal with whoever is trespassing there.
We as Ikpoba community, we are not aware. We don't know these people there. All we know right from time that is the Muslim that owns that land.
The chief imam of Benin Central Mosque, Alhaji Abdul Fattah in Abulele, explained that the land was officially allocated to the Muslim community by the late Oba of Benin, Oba Kenzua II, on October 15, 1945. The allocation was backed by duly signed documents. He recalled that in 1976, the then military governor of the defunct Bender State, Navy Commodore Hussaini Abdullahi, requested a portion of the land for a temporary health facility to treat patients with contagious diseases, a request the Muslim community granted in the interest of public health.
We Muslims, we are very peaceful people. We don't want any crisis here in Benin. We have never had any religious crisis. And so we are appealing to everyone that whoever should stay clear of our land, that land belongs to the Muslim. Oba that gave us the land. It's not the community.
From Benin, Patience Osaugiwa, ITV News.
The executive of Edo State chapter of the Rentals Association of Nigeria has marked its 2 years in office. The event held at the Catholic Social Center on Dawson Road in Benin City featured dialogue of achievements recorded by the executive in 2 years. Jonah Morowa was there.
It was a joyous moment for the executive and members of Edo State chapter of the Renters Association of Nigeria as the association celebrated 2 years in office. In his speech, the president, Edo State chapter of the association, Harry Ogbomo, said the association has made significant progress in the last 2 years in office.
These are efforts that we are putting in place for the association to move forward. On behalf of my team, say thank you to all of you, because all that we have done was as a result of your cooperation and your commitment to us, your support, your trust to us. If you didn't trust us, if you didn't entrust your finances, your time, your resources, everything to us, for us to do it, we would not have achieved what we have achieved today.
Special guest of honor Osaze Igbenovia, represented by Edokbolo Ayamehue, commended members of the association for coming together.
Something said I should tell you that this organization should key into cooperative society. There are farms, there are many things to benefit from cooperative society.
The occasion also featured presentation of awards to deserving members. Some members promised to continue to support the leadership of the association to attain greater heights.
Today was a great day. Even in the history of this association, we thank God the weather, God favor us with a good weather, and all that was done, even inside, you saw it, is a scene to behold. We just thank God for the leadership of RAN.
I must commend him as a great leader and a digital president.
The anniversary also featured investiture, fundraising, and special prayers for the president and executive members of the association. From Benin, Jonah Omowa, ITV News.
And on a rather sad note, tragedy struck at number 2 Aerial Street on Textile Mill Road, Benin City, when a story building was razed by fire, leaving the landlord and other occupants losing property worth large sums of money. The victims are soliciting for help of survival. Efosa Wangwe has details.
It was a tale of sorrow and agony as the inferno sent confusion among residents in the area as they attempted to salvage an already devastating situation. The story building became a shadow of its former self as property inside the house was reduced to rubble. Some eyewitnesses said at night they heard a loud blast, and before they knew what was happening, fire had engulfed the house. The eyewitnesses said efforts to put off the fire were unsuccessful as the intervention of the fire service that rushed down could do nothing or little to contain the fire.
I opened myself for the area. I also apply boom, boom, boom. The next one we see, cause surprise say people go full area. We don't come out, cause surprise say they see fire the bomb.
So when he called me in the night that his house was on fire, I had to rush down. My first thought was the children. Then to the glory of God, within 10 minutes, someone called the fire service, and for the first time, it's all these years, I worked my years in the Edo State. Fire service responded within 10 minutes. Unfortunately, the damage has been done.
Landlord of the affected building, Mr. John Osawoyi, and his wife said the fire took them back to square one as they lost every single of their property.
I'm using this meeting to beg the good people of Edo State and the good people of Nigeria to come to my aid. My name is Fitch. I'm begging the governor of the state. Everybody, come to my aid, please. Give me all the assistance you can give me.
When I heard my daughter was shouting, "Mommy, mommy, mommy, come, mommy." So I was like, what? I ran out from the room to the parlor. When I got to the parlor, everywhere, smoke, fire, everywhere. No lights, no. In fact, I don't know how God managed to rescue me and the children.
At the time of this report, the remnants of the burnt property littered the premises. From Benin, Efosa Wangwe, ITV News.
And that sums it on ITV News for this time. Many thanks for watching. I am Harry Igbo-J. TMI Socials is next. Stay tuned.
ITV, certainly the best.
Good morning. This is TMI Socials. Welcome on board. I am Nuoluwapo Stevens. Better still call me a social media butterfly. And I'll tell you what, our video of the day is a Nigerian student who actually has gone viral, a Nigerian graduate in Nabuike Chisom. It went viral after delivering a flawless keynote address fluent in Chinese right there in China. Take a look.
尊敬的各位领导老师，亲爱的同学们，大家好！我是来自尼日利亚的硕士毕业生齐云松，站在今天毕业典礼的舞台上，我的小心脏噗噗直跳。2年时光转瞬即逝，我这个非洲精神小伙一晃就成了半个武汉啊！在我们国家有一种植物叫 cassava。 也就是木薯，从一个矿泉水瓶这么大长到我这么高，只需要短1个月。在我眼里，飞速发展的武汉与蓬勃奋进的中南大，正如木薯一般生机盎然。武汉每一天不一样，母校让人念念不忘，最让我念念不忘的是。
Well, shout out to Chisom. Someone here said, if he can do it, definitely I can do it. Now, we'll start off with our first video of today. We start off in Senegal, where yesterday we saw chaos erupt in Senegal National Assembly as female members of parliament attempt to remove colleague for overstaying speaking time. Now, reports and videos circulating online shows a chaotic session in Senegal's National Assembly during debates on constitutional reforms, when this particular man that you can see on the screen right now said he was talking too much. And guess what? The female went there and dragged him out of the stage. A clear case of survival of the fittest. Moving over to how netizens took this online, we start off with this user who wrote on X. How do you bring such behaviors into the parliament? People call honorable while even the way they walk is not honorable. Okay, another user reacting to this wrote, who did this to Africa? Can we just get something right for once? Well, finally, this user wrote, well, if it was a man manhandling a woman, the whole feminist and woman rights advocates would have been shouting, crucify him. I believe decorum, especially for a public official, should make those uncultured women to remain patient till he finishes, even if he is saying BS. Okay, anyway, back here in Nigeria, hashtag Adeyemi is currently trending as President Bola Tinubu's administration has come under scrutiny over allegations made by Adeyemi, the Director General of the Presidential Foreign Intervention Promotion Council, implicating the Chief of Staff to President Femi Gbajabiamila, right, in an appointment for cash for scandal. Now, on Monday, report had it that Mr. Adeyemi alleged during a press conference last week that Femi Gbajabiamila received 400 million naira through a proxy and demanded an additional 200 million naira to secure his appointment. Now, as details emerge regarding this scandal, the situation has created panic inside the presidential villa, prompting presidential spokesperson Bayo Onanuga to release a statement on Wednesday to ease tensions in the public. And these pictures, you can see, if we could have other pictures on, shows that this particular person, Adeniyi, actually had a picture with the EFCC boss. And also, if we also could have Bayo Onanuga's statement he released yesterday, I really appreciate it as we move over to, yes, that's what he released yesterday, trying to clarify the situation, but an ongoing one regarding Adeniyi and Femi Gbajabiamila, with the federal government all in this. Now let's look at the video that went viral and move over to reactions.
The other one, we have to bring in foreign to Nigeria to grow our economy.
Now the questions a lot of Nigerians are asking is, how come that particular said department received the monies from the central bank now without approval from the federal government? Make it all make sense. Anyway, let's move over to reactions on this story that is now gaining momentum online. This user wrote, please tell them this is not adding up. It's like someone can come into my house and have a room and I'm not aware. Make it make sense. Another user wrote, you can't use deception to open an account in CBN. You can't. They verify these things. They are processes. The earlier we start speaking the truth, the better for the image of this country. It's an ongoing conversation and we'll keep you up to speed right here as it unfolds. Away from that, we move over to Osun State, where a student of Osun State identified as simply Ademola has narrated how she was assaulted by some soldiers from the army depot in Osogbo. She's claimed that they invaded the halls of residence in the university, and this has actually sparked reactions online, with the VC of the school shouting on socials. Let's take a look at that moment.
And we are truly wounded. As a father, as a Nigerian, as a father, as a Nigerian, I will say you should continue this for a whole day. Let the state, I don't mean Osun State, I mean the federal government of Nigeria, know that the people we have recruited to protect us have turned around to become our enemy. The people we have recruited to help us to safeguard our society have become threats to our peace as a people. The people we are supposed to call upon when we are under security threat have actually themselves become security threats against us. Yes, sir. This is not acceptable in any nation. Yes, sir. And it should not be acceptable in our university. Yes, sir. And should not be acceptable in Osogbo and in Osun State. Yes, sir. Therefore, the military top echelon.
Now let's look at the girl in particular who narrated our deal when the incident happened. Take a look.
My hostel came when I noticed they were around. Later, everything died down and we started hearing noise again. They started on their toys. They started pointing their thoughts to my room. And I was like, who is there and why are you doing this? The next thing, they asked me to come open my door. I opened the door and it was like, it was like, well, how many are we that we are inside? How many are we inside the room? And I was like, we are two. My roommate was not around then.
Well, it's an ongoing conversation, and we're looking forward to more reactions on this, especially from the army. Now, we'll move over to tweet and reactions on the story. This user wrote, this is heartbreaking. Those responsible must be held accountable. No students should be subjected to abuse. Another user on X wrote, they keep recruiting repentant terrorists into the military. They are silent about the insecurities. Well, these are the results. Finally, this user wrote on X, gradually repentant terrorists who were admitted into the army are showing Boko Haram tendencies. Now we wrap up TMI socials on this note with the Minister of Works, Dave Imwai. Well, yesterday he accused Peter Obi of attacking his integrity and personality. Now, in the video, in a picture that went viral, Peter Obi saw a bad spot. The picture you can see right now, and he posted it on socials, and it got Umai talking about it. Take a listen to what he said.
You know, when my brother, the former governor of Anambra State, who should know what administration is, what governance is. I saw in social media where he got to a point where the road is bad and he snapped it. And, you know, so when did, you know, governance reduce to comedy? And so he was attacking my integrity and personality. And I'm always ready, you know, for a debate. I'm always ready to disaggregate the cost, unit cost of, you know, concrete.
Well, a lot of Nigerians are looking forward to that debate. How did you take this online? Let's have 2 tweets and reaction. This user wrote, is it just me or am I just overthinking? Is Peter Obi the only opposition to this current administration? Why is he living so rent-free in their heads that they barely have anything to talk about except finding a way to surround their narratives around this man? Another user finally wrote on Instagram, is the road, if the road wasn't messed up, nobody will question your integrity and personality. On that note, we wrap up TMI Socials today. Thank you so much for being part of the show. I am Anuoluwapo Stevens. From all of us on This Morning on ITV, Lagos, Abuja, and right here in the Delta State. We'll see you again next week. Please stay safe.
This is ITV.